Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Turner Podcasting System right here on indiequebec.com. It's the Prez, once again, with my co-host, the WCW expert himself, the Stinger. How you doing, Stinger?
I'm good. How are you, wrestling fans? It's kind of nice, like you said today. -2 is nice for Montreal.
Yeah,
It's something that
by
we
our
look
standards.
by our standards with the crazy days we have.
Yeah, man. So
It's one
minus
of
two,
them.
it's getting a little warmer out.
Yeah.
So today on the show, for the first time, we're gonna be reviewing a non-WCW show just to do a contrast because last week we reviewed Starrcade 2000 and we're going to review Armageddon 2000 today. So I was even able to watch the Heat that was before it. It's on
Yeah,
YouTube.
lucky you.
Anyone who wants to find it, it was a December 10th, 2000. The Heat was pretty funny. There was only one match. Scotty 2 Hotty, accompanied by Grandmaster Sexay, defeated D'Lo, accompanied by Tiger Ali Singh and Chaz, who is Mosh.
Hey man, headbangers. But yeah, these are the top main eventers of Heat.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like
Like
the
this would be
solid
a
mid
typical
card.
Heat match for
Definitely,
sure.
but probably better than Nitro. So 2000 Nitros, definitely. Like just
There,
Heat alone, I'm sure was better, right?
there
Because
was
Mick
some
Foley.
entertaining segments on
Yeah,
Heat.
yeah.
Like they showed because this on this pay-per-view was the first time apparently Undertaker would be coming out to Rollin', the Limp Bizkit song.
Yes, yes.
So on Heat, they showed the music video for Rollin'.
Right.
And you know what's funny? I had watched an ECW episode not that long ago, and they had made like a custom music video for Faith. And I'm sure they might have also done one for Rollin'. Like Rollin' was such a like not only very popular song at the time, but like wrestling fans and Limp Bizkit. It just like it was a perfect mix.
Dude, it clicked. I
Yeah.
was a wrestling fan, a huge Limp Bizkit fan. You were a wrestling fan, huge Limp Bizkit fan. Why not tie it together? Plus, I think you would even see them again.
They appear at a WrestleMania.
Yes.
I think at WrestleMania 19, their song, one of their songs is even like the main song, but it's not even one of their main. No, well, actually, they performed at WrestleMania twice.
Twice. I
Yeah,
think
they
once in
performed
18,
once
you were
when
right.
Taker was coming out. I'm pretty
Right.
sure at
18 or
WrestleMania
19.
17, even.
Yeah, okay, 17. There you
And
go.
then at
Exactly.
19, they perform again. I'm pretty sure.
Because I always mix up that and POD. Remember
POD.
Alive? POD Alive? That was another event, but I like they
I
used to
think
do
that might
that.
have been 18 or something. There was a
Yeah.
lot of they even had Saliva at one
Yeah,
event. I'm
Saliva.
pretty
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. They tied in a lot of alternative rock bands and
That's
stuff
what
with it.
WWE was like pretty on the pulse of like what was popular in music at the
Absolutely,
time.
they weren't bringing in like Beetlejuice and like the celebrities
Gary
that had
Coleman.
nothing. Gary Coleman, like we love Gary Coleman, but he's really not like you could see Saliva, you could see Limp Bizkit in wrestling in a setting like that. But yeah, WCW's trying too hard and they got like low grade, like bro, they could have just got Carrot Top too. They're like, hey, we
Yeah,
have Carrot
exactly. At
Top.
that point, or get Pauly Shore at that
This
point.
motherfucker's Jack though. Yeah, for real. Pauly Shore, one of the best though. Come on, man, Weasel, bro. But
Yeah,
yeah,
the
for sure.
weasel.
Very like honestly, I was actually excited, reviewing this because you literally saw the difference between WCW and WWE
Yeah.
at the time. So
Yeah, definitely. There's a
huge
big
difference.
contrast. So yeah, Heat was what it was. It was pretty fun. So the event itself, we're looking. It's from Birmingham, Alabama,
Alabama.
and all the heels all night long are like making redneck jokes.
Oh man,
The King
like
on commentary as well.
wearing overalls and at least washing them once a
Like the
week.
King is from Tennessee. Like
He is
how like well
Knoxville.
placed are you to be judging?
Probably not, but it's Alabama. Everyone's just like. Plus, if you saw, it was eerie on the what's happening now in the world with Ukraine, Russia. Unfortunately, this pay-per-view had the war opening. Like they had
Oh
that
yeah.
really weird communist, and it was such a coincidence. We're like, okay, Armageddon 2000, and then what's
Yeah,
unfolding in the
I'll be
world right now.
honest with you.
So
Like
when I saw it,
watching the opening, I
I was
felt a
disturbed
bit like uneasy watching it.
because I was literally reading Google News maybe a half an hour before, and I
Exactly,
was
same
looking
here.
at news,
Yeah.
what's going on. So yeah, it was
Like, what's
pretty
this like old timey war footage and like
super.
creepy? Like WWF had like these weird opening montages like that sometimes
Yeah,
for pay-per-views.
they did. They
Yeah,
did.
but
Well made though, for sure.
yeah, it
But
started on like an odd like vibe with that video for sure. I definitely noticed the same thing. But then like once we get into the pay-per-view, because even the video had like this like creepy music,
mm,
but then once we get into the pay-per-view, like throughout the whole pay-per-view, the song playing is like some kind of remix of Sweet Home Alabama.
dude, it was but not exactly. It's like dun, 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 dun,
It's
dun,
not the
dun. You could
real
hear it,
Sweet Home Alabama.
but they weren't trying to pull a WCW off by ripping it off. I think it was more like a tribute to the
Yeah,
song,
yeah,
like they're in
exactly.
Alabama. Like it was well made, well incorporated. It really wasn't a rip off like you felt in WCW. Like WCW would have ripped that off. They would have really they would have produced a serious knockoff song of it. Like they would have
Yeah,
got, okay, Jimmy, get in the studio and write us one, But yeah, I think it was just kind of a tribute. It was funny, like it was cheesy at fine, but
yeah,
really not
exactly.
even comparable to what WCW cheese gives.
Yeah,
So
exactly, for sure. So yeah, Howard Finkel is announcing JR and the King on commentary. Just
classic,
that
man.
alone is like the
Classic,
classic.
classic. Prez, this was classic attitude era, like
Yeah.
crisp attitude era. So already started off Alabama, amazing crowd, huge venue, Civic Center, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it was
Civic
in
Center,
the
the
Jefferson Civic
Jefferson,
Center. It was
exactly.
14,920 attendance and almost 500,000 people bought it on pay-per-view. So like
So
WWE was
hugely
killing WCW at this.
WCW, what, 5K, 4K
Exactly.
attendance, and not even 100,000 views, maybe under less. I don't know, maybe less, even greatly
Probably
less than.
like under 200,000 for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so pretty sad
WWF is
for
like
WCW,
killing them at this point.
destroying them, bro.
The set looked so much better than WCW. Like that was just I was so happy to see a custom pay-per-view set.
Yes, but I said the same thing. I said, "Oh my God, were they lazy in WCW? They had the crushed cars, they had the barrels, bro. They
The
took
cars all
time
flipped
to,
over. It looked like a tornado
man.
kind of thing.
It's
Like,
part of the show, bro. Like I know your company's in trouble, but take the effort, WCW, to do something at least, not go out like that. Like, hey, let's use the same fucking set as we used
just
for
keep
Thunder.
exactly.
Just
Yeah,
show up at
like
work,
they
man.
just looked like people stopped like really caring at a
Yeah,
certain
and then
point.
they kept flashing back to classic
Hell in a Cell moment.
WWF New York. Yes, so they kept showing us Hell in a Cell. Then they showed us a shot of New York,
Yeah.
WWE New York 2000. By the way, me and Prez, we end up finding a what was it? A menu. We were
Yeah, an
just
old
curious to see
menu
what
we
they were
found
serving there.
online.
Yeah, they had a menu like Jilly's, if you guys remember Jilly's. Shout out to Aaron Amadeus and the Ring guys,
You know what I
Montreal.
was thinking while watching this pay-per-view is that I think like the couple times I went to Jilly's to go watch Raw with those guys, like because
With
they
the
would
In the Ring
have like
guys.
every Monday in this back room. And on some TV that today you'd be like, throw that TV in the garbage, but at the time it was considered good. Like
It was
like
good.
maybe like a 45-inch like tube, you know?
Yeah, it was a huge tube, and we're like, whoa,
Yeah.
like the tubes were expensive. They,
Oh yeah.
like they
Yeah.
were still there, and yeah, for sure. And then I think they
And
jumped to
I
plasma
think it
later.
was really around this era because I remember it was like around when Mick Foley was commissioner.
Yes, yes,
Those
yes.
are the times that I went.
Yeah, because in the ring they did a lot. They covered all, I think, of the 2000s. Like every month they had the
That
pay-per-view
was
playing at
like their
Jilly's.
era. Well, that was my era
Yeah,
of listening to them really
exactly.
a
Me too,
lot.
man. I was in Sec 1 listening to the radio about wrestling and following both brands, even ECW, getting the mags, getting the action figures, the video, anything wrestling related, a keychain. Provisoire, I don't know if you've seen them. They used to sell the Nitro gums.
Oh
WCW
yeah,
gums with
yeah,
stickers,
yeah,
dude.
with the little
I bought
stickers.
all of them, literally, and I stuck them all on my Nitro ring. I was a pure fan. Plus, Christmas was coming. Remember, we're still in the Christmas era. Exams were coming. I had went to Toys R Us. My mom bought me a Buff Bagwell. She bought me Roddy Piper at Triple H. So it was magical for me at that time. I
An
was
awesome
what,
wrestling
12,
era.
man. I was 12 years old, bro. It was my wrestling era. I didn't care about anything, girls, movies. I didn't care about. I was about
We cared a bit
wrestling.
about girls in those days.
Yeah. Like you started, but like, it was just
Trying
like
to not
girls are
get
wrestling. I was like, I'm gonna go to Jilly's. Forget her. I'm not gonna go see her. Good times, man. Honestly, it opened up good, the pay-per-view.
Yeah. So yeah, this would have been like 2 weeks before Christmas in the era. I remember Armageddon was like, even I remember up to like when the end of high school, always remember Armageddon as being the Christmas break pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And
it was always
sometimes
relaxed.
like,
Yeah, it was always like Christmas break. It was always relaxed, because it
yeah.
was setting you up for Royal Rumble. Like Royal Rumble is huge. It's the month after, right? It's in January. So totally right. It was the Christmas break, vacation-y type.
Yeah. And you know what? I think, I mean, this was a fun pay-per-view, but I'll just start off before we get into the first match. Definitely wasn't like the best pay-per-view of that era, though.
No.
Like
No,
if
no,
we're
no, no.
comparing really Starrcade against Armageddon, like WWF is they're going a little easy on this month.
Yeah, totally.
Like the next month, like the Royal Rumble 2001, that's
probably
like a fucking
one
classic.
of the best pay-per-views of all time, like period.
Yeah.
Same with WrestleMania that followed that.
Yeah.
Amazing, bro. Like that was the prime peak of wrestling. So I'm really glad we're reviewing this, because this is really the middle, the median of that beautiful era, bro. Classic.
Yeah.
Just
and
simply.
I think I'm trying to think, was originally okay, so it would have been Royal Rumble, then we would have had No Way Out 2001.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the Royal Rumble. Yeah. I think
then Royal Rumble, and then after Royal Rumble it would be Backlash. Then they set something huge. Then it would be WrestleMania, right?
Or no,
no. So we have January. Yeah.
No Way Out, and then WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they always hyped something right in the middle. Something huge would come. New contender would come. A surprise appearance would come in a limo.
And like for quite a few years, like WWF kept the same pay-per-view schedule. And like at that time, it felt like it would never change. Like now it's changed, of course. But
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
You know
but no, then they were religious.
Armageddon is December. Like
absolutely, they were religious. They would never break out of their yeah, their absolutely, mold, man. That's why their writing as well. They did that with their writing on their shows. They stayed consistent. They didn't go off track, and that is why it was so successful.
Yeah.
So that's a very good point you bring up, Prez.
Yeah. It was like very formulaic. Like often, like the show at the Raw after a pay-per-view, like the guys who had been feuding and had matches on pay-per-view, like they wouldn't be feuding anymore with the guy. Like you wouldn't see them interacting, and they'd start a brand new feud.
Yeah. It's reset. Exactly. Yeah. Refresh, reset.
Like a reset. Exactly.
Onto if they had to mention something that happened before, they would, but it was well written, executed beautifully, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They were really, the writing was good here.
It wasn't like WCW where it was unedited. They're like, oh, we're not going to edit anything. We're just going to do everything that's on the paper that was written.
No, exactly.
And that's why it looked like shit.
So Vince McMahon shows up in a limo, of course. That trope, Patterson and Briscoe were there to greet him. They were so entertaining, like at the time.
They were
non-wrestling, like just random characters.
They were like his little snitches, his little assistant. They were like, oh. So
they would often get like, how many stunners did those guys take? Like,
many, men.
Yeah. So our first match of the night, it's the Hardy Boys and Lita versus Eddie Guerrero, Saturn, and Malenko in an elimination tag. Basically, the main feud of this is revolving around Malenko trying to hit on Lita, but then she like basically denies him. And
she tricked him, man. She pretended she was in love and brought him to a hotel, and and they were getting really peachy PG-13, PG-16. Remember those stickers on our Quebec videos
Yeah.
with the
It's like
yellow, green,
16,
red?
10
This was hitting like yellow. You know, it was like yellow
in
to
a
almost
hotel
red.
room.
Yes, because they're gonna have, you know, inciting that they're gonna have sex. And much to our surprises, Lita laughs in his face while, you know, when they close the lights, and the Hardys jumped the shit out of
Yeah, in
Malenko,
the
who was a
hotel. They
great
do.
wrestler. And this
Smash
was
the lamp
crazy.
over him and shit.
Absolutely, dude. Attitude at its best. So it was fun to open the pay-per-view with great talent as well. Eddie Guerrero, Saturn came out, Malenko. It was an intergender match.
Yeah. And one thing about this pay-per-view I'll say is that I find like there a lot of the undercard feuds, like you ask people if they remember that and they're like, "Meh, no." Like people might remember the Lita and Malenko like little storyline, but like the Hardy Boys were basically in a full-on feud with the Radicals. Like people don't
Yeah.
really remember that, you know?
Yeah, I do remember it because I watched it religiously. But
Yeah.
it's true. You would ask
It's not
anyone else, they'd be like,
a well-remembered feud.
because they're gonna remember Edge, Christian, Dudley
Dudley.
Boys. They're gonna remember all that, you know, the crazy ladder tag team matches they've had. So that's what people mostly, you know. But I do remember this. But I did kind of forget the Malenko Lita thing. Then once I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, oh my
Yeah.
god, like yes, I remember this. So
That's it. And so Terry Reynolds is with the Saturn in this. Remember those two being together?
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So at Jeff gets eliminated. Oh no,
First.
Eddie gets eliminated first, and
First.
then Jeff like.
Jeff.
So like if that's what I was like kind of find funny because if you look back on this match, those two are probably like the two biggest stars. Like
the highlights.
Looking back, you know,
I
they're
think
like
they
two
wanted
main
to
eventers.
absolutely. I think they just want to get rid of them to boil down to Saturn, to Malenko being abusive to Lita. You know, like
Yeah, that was
probably
like
making.
their main thread.
Yeah, they
here,
were
for
gonna make him
sure.
more heel and more despicable because, as you know, the ending of the match. Also, we forgot to say Malenko came out with the light heavyweight strap, that now
Yeah.
defunct light heavyweight. Light heavyweight, I think, was the equivalent of cruiserweight.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
and he held that for a long time.
Yeah, he held it for like
Malenko.
over a year, but he would like never defend it. Sometimes I
Exactly.
think he would defend it maybe on Jacked or Heat or Metal.
Metal on CFCF.
Exactly.
Saturday
on
morning,
Metal,
bro.
Just
Midian
keep
was a
defending it against Crash Holly because they're the only two cruiserweights.
yes, and at some point he defended it against Midian, bro. Midian isn't really a cruiserweight, but they're like, here. They're like, we have an opening for
No
you've
one.
never seen it, huh? It was Midian. I remember clearly Dean
No, I
Malenko
don't
versus
remember
Midian
that.
for the light heavyweight championship on Metal. That was the biggest great match you can have on CFCF at 10 a.m.
Yeah, back in the day, man. I always liked that. It was a good. I would watch my cartoons and then watch Jacked or Metal.
Yeah, and I'd watch my
even-
cartoons
You know
while
what?
Jack was
In
on a
this
commercial.
Era, I can even remember that right before Jacked, like in year 2000, or what was it? Was Metal, I think, right?
Yeah, it was Metal
Yeah,
in Canada.
yeah.
Metal,
on
I think, or
CFCF,
CFCF. Channel 11 if you didn't have
satellite
cable.
or
Yeah, or
cable. Yeah, there'd be cartoons, or right in this era, it was like even Stevens on ABC would play
Oh,
at
man.
like 11:30.
Oh yeah,
It would
even
play like
Stevens.
after the cartoons.
Absolutely.
And then
Weren't
at
you-
12, it was wrestling, or on 12, if you stayed on ABC, which I never would because I want to watch wrestling, but that's when they would play Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes.
Now we're getting off topic. but-
Man, that's a whole podcast on just
No, yeah,
Looney Tunes
Looney
at that
Tunes.
era,
Was
bro.
it racist?
My
Was it
God.
funny?
It's pretty violent too, man.
Yeah,
It was,
was it funny?
out of control. Good shit, for real.
No, for sure, Looney Tunes was out of control, for sure.
So it was a pretty good match.
Yeah, it
Lita
comes
was
down
displaying.
really to like, yeah, like there's some good wrestling, but it's really about the whole narrative of the Lita Malenko thing. So it
Yeah.
comes down to them,
Yeah.
and Malenko makes her tap out.
Yeah.
He
I think-
reminded
I
me
think-
here like that part. It was reminding me of like in the WCW side, like how Shane Douglas is always like,
Yeah, he was, but he
know?
was more serious. He was the man of the thousand holds, Shane Douglas, WWE E style for sure. Great wrestler though, by the way. And I think they were pushing him. That's why they focused and made him a heel. Like the
Yeah,
narrative, like
like
you said, was
they,
to turn him into a heel and make him despicable because he was abusing poor Lita. Like how many times did he pin her for a sure count and he would just kick
yeah,
out
exactly. Like he
or
was
get
beating her
off
up and
to
then
beat
lift
her
the
up more.
shoulder.
So
So yeah, like this whole, you're right. Like this whole match seems like it was designed to
build
like
him up as a
elevate
heel.
Malenko. Yeah, definitely.
Which worked in the WWE. Man, when you were in WWE, anything was possible, bro. If they wanted you to be a heel, you'd be a superstar the next day. You'd be pushed. He wasn't a superstar, but we all knew him as Dean Malenko, one of the greatest cruiserweight champions of WCW
Yeah,
and
he
the
definitely
Radicals.
never rose to like the heights he was in
No,
WCW.
no,
But I'd say he was one of the rare wrestlers that was like better promoted in WCW.
for sure.
Yeah. So backstage after the match, Kurt Angle, who's the current champion, he's interviewed by Lillian Garcia, who I think she's like brand new with the company here, because she goes on to be, of course, ring announcer. But I think she replaces Howard.
Yeah, she does. For the longest time, man, for her voice was the voice, like the voice of the Attitude Era, because it jumped from Finkel, rest in peace, to Lillian Garcia, and we got used to seeing her.
The end of the Attitude Era.
That's it. So
yeah, so a young Lillian Garcia, Kurt Angle. It's just a classic, hilarious Kurt Angle promo.
Amazing, man, on
the
mic.
What do you think I'm gonna do? He's like, I'm gonna drink my milk. He's like,
dude, he was watching the segment reminded me how much I hated Kurt Angle as a heel, but he was great, bro. He was so good to WWF. Like he was entertaining. The Olympic medals was still a huge deal because it wasn't too far off. He won what in '96? Yeah, that was only 4 years ago. Exactly. So it was still fresh and
it was basically like the previous Olympics. So that's very relevant.
Exactly.
Like
so it's still very relevant.
You're like legit the best.
Absolutely. Now if he says it, it's something different because man, it was a 26-year-old dude. Come on. But yeah, definitely. Kurt Angle was hilarious.
Such an amazing athlete, and like they got so lucky with how freaking charismatic he was, and like
he was, man. He came at the right time.
That nerd. He didn't mind to look like a nerd. He didn't try to look cool at all. And you know, a lot of guys, like especially I could say on the indies, like they wouldn't want to do a character like that because they're like, how am I gonna get pussy? Like
with a nerd, but he didn't care. Bro, he made being a nerd cool. Like not cool, but he launched it, man, and he pulled it off.
Oh, he pulled it off.
He was a great wrestler too, man. Absolutely. So
that was just a great promo. After that, so we get the Hardcore Holly versus Regal. Regal comes out and cuts a promo about how much how rednecks basically
Alabama is, and tells them that something called a handkerchief to wipe their mouth and their nose. Also makes fun of the overalls, and he says, guys, if you want to wear overalls, at least wash them once a week. That was hilarious, bro. I laughed. Regal, they made good work out of him because like we were discussing, he got so far in WCW as much as TV champion.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was good. He was entertaining. Like he was a great technical wrestler. The shit he pulled with Goldberg, obviously that was crazy, but definitely classic. But they used him well here, and you love to hate him. And he was hilarious too, man. With Tajiri.
He was a great, like, polite guy in the
Attitude Era.
He was
such a classy,
like a good aristocrat character.
Yes, he was what Triple H couldn't become. Remember with his fancy aristocrat.
Yeah, exactly. He had to go away from that to become cool. Regal was like he was
the embodiment of that. That's what made him cool, bro. Yeah. He was classy, but yet he was a snake.
And also, referring back to that, in WCW, they were together. Like Triple H and Regal were a team at one point.
Yes, I think weren't they like the blue blood, not blue blood, something like that, like aristocrats.
Like the continuation of the blue bloods basically grew out of that.
Right.
We'll watch some of those events eventually for sure.
Surprisingly, this was started out solid match. It's good. It's great talent, man. Regal and Hardcore Holly was
super popular because it's in Alabama.
Absolutely. So they built him up as the face. Obviously, it's his hometown. fighting the classic racist
And I just want to
non-American.
mention one thing. Everyone on this roster, this is one of the shows they definitely modeled WWF No Mercy. Like all the guys' gear in that game, one of the 4 options for their gear is gear that they wore on this show.
Oh my God, yes. Actually, I didn't even realize that just to think of it because I played No Mercy a lot, bro, in the 2000s. But yes, so like we were saying last time, a lot of the WCW games, they modeled it after the NWO era, whereas in this one it's that era, and it was cool, bro, to see. They were so cool, man. WWE was so cool at the time, bro.
Yeah, like when they released No Mercy, that almost felt like it's like, okay, now they've killed WCW. Because WCW, when they were killing them in the games, it almost felt like that was like what turned the tide too, because that was exactly the same era that they were dominating in the ratings.
Yeah, absolutely. But when the
Like up
games
to
came out,
Revenge, like between
it's true.
World Tour and Revenge was WCW's best era on TV and in video games.
Exactly. Then once they launched WCW Thunder, that's where it was going down. So when they launched Thunder, what did WWE launch?
Um,
I think because it came out in '98.
WrestleMania 2000,
Yeah, WrestleMania 2000
which
was the
was
game to come out.
good, but it needed
Not
some
the best.
improvements.
Yeah,
No
pretty much.
Mercy
Came
killed
out
it.
and really destroyed everyone for
Yeah.
sure. And I think
So
then
in this
SmackDown came out.
era, I think it might have even come out this Christmas, or no, it might have even probably later. I don't know.
Point is, No Mercy killed it and killed
Yeah.
all other
Definitely
wrestling
killed
games.
Backstage Assault.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started. I forgot about that game.
You know what's so sad? Like those 2 games were like side by side being sold, like say at Toys R Us, same price. Some like unwitting mother or father goes in there. Oh, my kid likes wrestling. I'm gonna get him a wrestling game for
Wow.
Christmas. Oh, boom! Don't pick the wrong one. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
horrible
And
choice.
the kid's like, Backstage Assault. That's not even. That's not Stone Cold Steve Austin. Rock.
It's like
I don't want.
when Bart gets that golf game in Simpsons for Christmas.
What was his name? Lou Carvalho.
Yeah, Lou
He's like,
Carvalho's
welcome to
putting,
Lou Carvalho's putting. It was hilarious. That's exactly. Oh man. Oh shoot.
Basically, yeah, it's a pretty good match. Regal Holly. We get interference by Raven.
Yes, out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Comes in, DDT, leaves. That wasn't his. Was that his debut? No way.
they seemed surprised by him, but I think
Yeah.
he was interfering here and there. For some reason, the first time I remember him interfering, or the first time I remember him showing up was when Taz was feuding with JR, and I think he just randomly came and helped Taz.
It was like ECW, like there was that, that, hey, my boy from ECW. I do remember him coming and right away also going for the hardcore title. Like they threw him in.
Yeah,
I think
like
into
at
hardcore
the
title.
WrestleMania 2 months later on, it's him versus Big Show versus
And Kane. Kane, I remember that was crazy. Match. Yes, that was insane.
In the golf cart,
insane, bro. Like
they made like fake walls backstage and threw each other through the fake walls.
Amazing, bro.
That was actually a memorable hardcore match. And that's maybe that match that we're just talking about is maybe Raven's like highlight of this run because like he ended up on Heat a lot.
Yeah, a lot later. Like he wasn't for sure. Also, this match was coming off Rebellion 2000. I think Rebellion was in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he had. I think Regal had defeated Crash Holly, because I remember they were feuding like back and forth, and then Hardcore versus because he was the Euro champ. Yeah. Remember, now defunct, and man, they decided to remove these 2 titles, like heavyweight and the Euro. Because Euro was like very pointless. It was like you didn't really need it. This was to push.
Only really popular at certain times.
This was a mid-carders title, I think.
What I heard about the European title was before the Attitude, like the European title was made right before WWF basically started like kicking ass. And
Yeah. Yeah. It was I think end of '98.
like the time WWF starts really like taking back over is around WrestleMania 14.
Yeah, end of like mid '98 or like in '98,
Early
like well
98,
in
early to
'98.
mid
Yeah,
98. Yeah.
that's it. That's it. That's it.
So they made the European title in 97. I believe what I heard is because they were getting such bad crowds in North America that they made the European title because Brett and Bulldog, they were still drawing big houses in Europe. So they were going to start doing like half their shows almost in Europe to like get
Oh,
big
that makes
crowds to keep
sense.
the company. So they
Yeah, yeah.
made a European title to like
Good
represent
strategy.
Europe because
That
like,
makes
you know,
a lot of sense, but
yeah.
that's a good
But
strategy
then
too.
like like then once after WrestleMania 14, they don't have to do that strategy because like America becomes obsessed with WWF again, with Austin and with Tyson and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then they can abandon the whole European thing. So then the European title kind of becomes an afterthought,
Mm.
you know? So that's basically pretty much what I heard. Um, so backstage, we see Kevin Kelly interviewing Rikishi. Um, Angle, we see that before the pay-per-view, like there was a lot of chaos in the main event picture.
Yeah,
Austin had just come back from a over a year long injury.
neck injury. Yeah,
Rikishi was being elevated into the main event picture
right.
because um, he was being promoted as the guy who ran over Austin when Austin was hurt in that fake car accident, stupid
Yeah,
angle. And so then you had also The Rock, Kurt Angle, Triple H, and Undertaker all basically feuding over.
vying for the title, so they're
Yeah.
all running up for the title. But
So
it
basically, all the main eventers are like coming to like it's getting super violent. So Mick Foley's solution is I'm going to put you all in a Hell in the Cell match,
right,
one match to
right.
decide the world champion. So then the heels, it looked like during the feud leading up, and that is what it was. The heels like Triple H, because Triple H and Rikishi had formed an alliance when they
Yeah,
took out
for
Austin with the
Austin,
car thing.
for yeah, and then you had
They
Kurt
were
Angle,
kind
the
of
douchebag.
aligning with Angle because he was
Right,
also heel.
right.
But then it looks like on um, the last, I guess, SmackDown before the pay-per-view, Angle attacked Rikishi.
Yeah, that broke the alliance because you had
Yeah.
Triple H, Rikishi, and you had the three heels versus, come on, The Rock, Austin, and Taker. So dude, it worked. It was maybe all over the place, but it wasn't WCW all over the place. This was
No,
like good shit
exactly.
all over the place. Plus, I think this main event reset it.
Yeah.
Because I think they were slick, man. What they did is a huge main event like that in the Hell in a Cell, which is the last pay-per-view of 2000. And then you jump to 2001 Royal Rumble, which kind of was like everything was reset. No, not reset in a way, but they're like, okay, final pay-per-view of 2000, huge main event of these 6 runner-ups. And man, they did they push Rikishi to put him
Really,
along the
yeah.
5 other guys, bro. The other 5 guys were the top money makers and the main eventers of the company. Triple H, Rock, Taker, Angle,
Austin. Yeah,
Austin,
like
bro,
they could have
just came back.
they could have put Kane in that position. They could have put Jericho. They could have put Benoit. They were
They pushed
3
him.
more established guys, but they really wanted to elevate Rikishi.
Yeah.
And so yeah, Rikishi, he says he's not scared, and
I like that promo. I like honestly that promo was like he was good on the mic. He had great mic skills, and he's a Samoan tough guy. He's a veteran, bro. So I dig that the promo he pulled. That got me excited. I was like, yeah, I do like when I saw him say that. I did remember what happened at the end of the main event, but I was glad they pushed Rikishi. It was very weird and random when they chose him as the guy that ran over Austin. But I guess
he made events here, but then like I think, well, obviously he's probably in the Royal Rumble. Like everyone gets to be in the Royal Rumble, but I think by WrestleMania, I don't even know if he's booked. Like they definitely like cut off his push. Like
No, yeah, I think he was still mid-carding probably as a face after. Is it possible?
I think they're like, oh, let's just make him dance and maybe people
Yeah, yeah,
like
like funny, but
forgive him again.
exactly. So like they gave him a huge push and then they like downgraded him again to mid Carter
And then
and
that was
funny
pretty much like the end of his big
Rikishi.
push.
Yeah, that's
Because
it.
before this, before turning him heel, he was one of the most popular mid carders of the Attitude Era.
Yeah, dude, Stinkface, the music where he did the
The
dance with
dance,
Scotty 2 Hattie, they did Scotty 2 Hattie and Brian Christopher, rest in peace. They used to dress cool. Remember they had they do the worm and dress all super 2000-ish,
yeah,
hip hoppy. So they were pretty cool. They were huge faces, to be honest. We
they
we
were
laugh at
like,
them. We're like Scotty 2 Hattie, too cool, but they were huge, cool. They were like the Conan kind of
yeah,
WWE
yeah,
at the time.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like hip and cool. So they had a lot of interaction with the crowd. Like definitely.
No, exactly, yeah. They were big crowd pleasers.
So it's sad he went from that to after nothing.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like
They're like, it didn't work as a heel, so they're like, well, you kind of can't just go back to being like a hilarious face because like
exactly, dude.
so yeah, we get some like hilarious little ads at wwfshopzone.com, XFL ads. So
Oh
yeah, we're
my God,
building up to the
XFL.
debut of XFL.
They had the football players in the crowd. Yeah,
Like this is when WWF really like making XFL felt like a flex against WCW at the same time. It's like
dude. They
we have
create.
so much
Yeah,
money, we're gonna make a football team, like a
yeah,
football league.
dude. And the U.S. was all about football and
Oh yeah,
still is, and even Canada. But like U.S. was huge
US
on
is all
football.
about it.
So,
Yeah,
dude, all about college football. So for them to start building the XFL was this to WCW. Like,
yeah,
dude, you're in trouble. I'm gonna buy you soon.
exactly. So our next match, it was China versus Val Venus with Ivory. Val Venus, not the cool Val Venus, but the right to censor version. There's a lot of right to censor. Well, there's not even that much right to censor in this pay per view, but well, yeah, there is.
Yeah,
It's too
Buchanan and
much.
Godfather. Yeah,
I
yeah,
always
yeah.
hated their song.
It
And
was
I
so annoying.
think this was maybe their peak here.
Yeah, as
Like
heels
Ivory
and
is women's champion. We'll see later Goodfather and Bull Buchanan are tag champs.
great
And you have
tag, by the way. Definitely great tag team. Like great chemistry. Two huge guys, but yeah. Go on. Sorry.
yeah, Val Venus versus China. That's like a high profile match. Their right to censor hates China because she was in Playboy. So
Oh
that's
yeah, that
pretty
was the
much
theme. It was true, exactly. They're like, this is the most despicable thing that's happened to us. And yeah, we didn't see Val Venus as the classic, big John Boski. I mean Val Boski, sorry. But that alarm, by the
Val
way,
right
the
to
theme
censor are all dressed like they're in this movie
RTC
Office Space.
Office Space and that movie with Michael Douglas where he's mad. What was
Falling
it?
down.
Falling down, bro. They looked like him, and
Yeah,
even Stevie Richards had that same cut as him. Like, dude,
he
this
did.
guy's gonna,
Fuck, man. I think he
th-
might have been based on. Wow.
dude.
I
Yeah,
love
that's what I
Falling
realized.
Down. If he's
And
based
he was
on that,
mad.
I now love him.
I,
But I
dude,
hated him before.
dude, I hated him. Even Mike Douglas scared me, man. Remember, he just wanted his burger and he beat up those Latino gangsters, bro. No fuck around with this guy. But
Yeah,
um,
that's a classic movie. I'll definitely suggest to anyone who's ever seen
falling
Falling
down, me
Down.
too. So yeah, China, by the way, great talent, man. She was the pinnacle of all women wrestlers. She was kind of like the Ronda Rousey of MMA, like when it first, when women MMA was really booming. China was the first to do it on a national global
China
scale.
was a huge star at this era.
Yes,
Like,
Playboy with
WWF in general was so big. Like, say you'd go to Walmart in like the kids' backpack and lunchbox section, you'd have like cartoon, whatever was popular, but you'd have a WWF section
always,
and you'd have like a DX bag, a Rock bag, an Austin
always
bag, but you'd
T-shirts.
always have a China bag too.
Absolutely,
China was
China.
like that. She was almost
Big.
on that Austin Rock star level. Not to say that she was as good of a wrestler, obviously not,
No, no,
but
no, no.
her
But
face,
power, star power
yeah, like
was
she was associated with WWF. Like she definitely was like one of the biggest faces of the Attitude Era. And they,
Attitude merchandise wise, yes, you saw her face always.
yeah, exactly. Like even I think even on the games they'd show like, you know, like when they'd show like a couple characters in the back of the games, she was
She was
always
always there.
featured there. Like
She was there on SmackDown, SmackDown 1 on PS1.
exactly,
Yeah, she
you
was
know,
there. Like
like
she, for sure, for sure. You saw Hurricane. Like she was always, yeah, she was propelled, man.
when they
Definitely,
would
China was huge.
send people, because WWF at the time was also quite big. Like when you would see like the Teen Choice Awards or the MTV Movie Awards, they would send like The Rock or Austin, but China was often there too. Like,
Absolutely,
yeah, she was definitely one
absolutely.
of the bigger stars of the era.
Good
And
wrestler too. Honestly, she was a great wrestler.
she got better and better. Like, I would
For
say
sure.
this was not a bad match. I normally don't like mixed gender.
Intergen. Yeah, it was weird. Like
And this
I
was the
think.
second one. Like you were saying
Yeah,
earlier, before we started recording, like, yeah, there's a lot of intergender on this.
yeah. I don't know if it was because they were paving the way for like women becoming huge in wrestling. Like you always had wrestlers, women wrestlers, and but the 2000s they were starting to mix it up. They were
It's like a
really,
different like approach. Like
yeah.
a lot of indies do that. They do a lot of intergender, but then like WWE today would never do that. But back
No,
in the day, they did do that. It's like
2000s it would pass, and it
a
was
different
fresh and new.
philosophy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like today, even Impact does it though. Impact does it.
Yeah,
Like on their last pay-per-view, they even have an
agreed.
intergender match.
Agreed. So Val wins by Ivory
Fisherman
interfering.
suplex. And yeah,
Yeah,
Ivory. Let's not forget the interference. He didn't just beat her, of course.
China went to attack her ass. She beat him. She and then yeah,
And I think
actually
that is, I think Ivory stays women's champion. And at that upcoming WrestleMania, China defeats Ivory for her first women's championship. I remember
yes,
Ivory versus China at WrestleMania. Remember that?
yes, that was huge too. That was big because Ivory is a good wrestler. She was not
Yeah.
a like bumbly. She was actual good talent. She was in there for looks, but
And
she
she
was
was
great talent.
hilarious in Right to Censor in
She was.
like in that gear. Like her as a woman like that was I could see her being like a GM, like a
Yeah, for
Vicky
sure.
Guerrero kind of character.
For sure, she was super. She was intimidating for a lady, definitely.
She's reminded me of like our bitchy high school teachers, you know?
Big time.
So backstage, Stephanie and Vince are talking. Stephanie's scared for Triple H, and Vince is like, I'm gonna try to put a stop to this match, to the Hell in the Cell. So that's kind of another like overarching storyline of the show. Vince trying to like put an end to the match or like make sure that the Hell in the Cell doesn't happen. And WWF didn't do this every pay-per-view, but it's something they did a lot in the Attitude Era where like a pay-per-view would have like a storyline that would kind of like wrap up over the show,
Yeah,
which was cool.
it would intersect with it.
Yeah, exactly.
It would
And
intersect
like,
with it, and you'd have a
it made
huge
it so
ending
unpredictable
finale.
because by the start of the show, shit evolves during the show. So like at the beginning of the pay-per-view, you didn't know necessarily like, you know, the shit that's gonna happen. We'll get to that later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So, but they
So
were building up the Hell in a Cell a lot with the
oh
fear. Like,
yeah,
man,
yeah,
what's
they're
gonna
building it up
happen?
like people are
Cancel
gonna
it.
get hurt. They're like
Vince
every single
McMahon.
match, people have gotten hurt in the past.
Exactly.
Yeah, they really built up the danger of the Hell in the Cell.
And that's how you pull writing off. WCW
Yeah.
tried to do that, but really didn't succeed. WWE had the recipe, they had the formula to build up huge match. Like we were hyped by then already. Like we're like, yo, come on, man. Like, when's the main event coming? Unlike people, WCW, they're like, yo, what time is the show finishing? I gotta go catch.
Yeah,
You know.
like that's a definite stark contrast. Like you could see that these opening matches weren't like killing it, but that was like WCW. Sometimes their undercard would be better than WWF, but WWF, their main event would kill it every time. And like
Yeah.
ultimately, people pay for a pay-per-view for the main event.
The main event,
You don't
dude,
mind
that's what
seeing
you
Scotty
remember
Too
at the
Hotty,
end.
but you're not going to pay $40 to see
No,
it.
no, definitely not. I totally agree. And you remember the main events at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Like you can have the most solid talent doing mid carding, but at the end of the day, bro, it was the main event selling. It was the main event video
Drawing the
packages
ratings,
you saw
selling
in
the merch.
games, the mags, pictures of main events in the mags, on merchandising, bro, t-shirts everywhere, man. So
Exactly.
true.
So yeah, like they really built up their main eventers. They really protected their main eventers. So we get the last man standing match here, Jericho versus Kane. This is like, I guess it could be considered like the semi-main event, but you don't, this was good booking in a way. You don't want to put like a last man standing and then the Hell in the Cell. You never put
No.
two crazy stipulations
Stipulations back to back, because
unless you're ECW, but they threw all the rules out the window. So
right.
But yeah, so they couldn't really put this later on in the card, but it kind of felt early-ish, I would say. The whole idea of the feud is that Kane hates that the fans cheer Jericho, and so Kane was like really attacking Jericho like in a violent way, you could say, like with weapons. And this brings out a more aggressive side of Jericho. That's kind of like the whole point of this feud, I think. Because I think the fans saw Jericho more as a comedy act.
He was great
Yeah.
talent, but he was hilarious, man. He was the one
Yeah.
standing up to Steph, and he was so rebellious, bro. He was really well utilized in. He made a big difference, actually. Like as we spoke in the Monday Night Wars when he actually debuted. By then, WCW was dying. Like so they didn't even have to compete. They were crushing them either way. But Jericho was a huge face for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is last man standing. They start brawling in the aisle, and then right away they go to the backstage without going to the ring. It's a pretty like violent but pretty standard like backstage hardcore match you could expect. One funny part is like there's a bunch of guys backstage, and then like at one point they're brawling, and Mideon's just there, but he's not
just chilling
here, and Jericho just punches him in the face. Mideon punches him back. Jericho punches him again, and then like Kane and Jericho keep fighting.
That was pretty cool.
Like, I don't know, like if there was maybe some loose alliance with Kane. You know what? I just had this thing that came to me that it would, like, what if a Ministry of Darkness, but with no Undertaker, and it would have been Kane, like the leader, like a second version.
It could have worked, man. They had that darkness.
They had so many dark characters left over from the Ministry, you know?
That's it. WCW tried to rip that off, I think, with Vampiro and Sting. They wanted like a dark and a demon. Oh my God, let's not even talk about that again ever. But yeah,
Muda in that ICP, that whole debacle, Raven. Yeah, so Raven, right? Raven would have left WCW late '99, so this is late 2000.
Yeah, right? I think he took time off and they negotiations.
I think he went back to ECW. He was definitely on drugs at the time. Like he's definitely well documented that he had some drug issues. So backstage we have the coach interviewing Foley. So we have like all different interviewers backstage. We have later on Michael Cole too, Lillian, the coach interviewing, and this feels like it's like a perfect era. Even like those characters I find were good as backstage interviewers, like the coach. I didn't like him as a commentator. I didn't like him as like a kind of GM, which they made him at.
Yeah. Neither did I.
But
same with Teddy Long.
Funny backstage.
Teddy Long, me too. Like I like Teddy Long as well, but he was a great ref, bro. He was much respected. Totally much respected.
He's reffing on this show, actually. We'll see that.
But after years, exactly. I saw him. But after years, you know, they start pushing you. They put you on camera. You know, you're a veteran. You've contributed a lot to the economy, of the company.
To the economy of the company. So Jericho ends up winning by pushing these barrels onto him, but like it's pretty obvious that like they were all welded together, and you
Yeah,
see him like
but
kind of
you,
make
dude, you
sure that
saw
he's
like,
safe.
yeah, you had like the slant of the stage, and then you saw that like it fell exactly, but it made it look like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 when Shredder
Yeah, he
comes
sticks his
out,
hand
like
out,
he has his hand, or the Joker in '89 where Jack Nicholson just puts his hand out with
or
his
Terminator with the chain.
Terminator. I cried so much, bro. That still haunts me. That scene
That's
to
still
this day. I
like
don't want to
that's the
even talk
best
about it,
hand in liquid
dude.
or
That's just,
whatever hand
man.
coming out.
I'm gonna cry right now, bro. For real. Let's not talk about that. But
T2, another movie review.
amazing.
Follow our movie review website. We'll do a dinner and a movie for TPS.
Oh,
That was a good
TBS dinner in
turner.
a movie. We should cook. Like we'll cook
Yeah,
something.
dinner and a movie.
Well, dinner in a movie.
Maybe we could review the Nitro episode. I found a Nitro episode where
With
their make the dinner and the movie guys, they're on Nitro this time and they join the NWO. And
no
then,
way.
yeah,
They
and
make a
then
meal.
DDP Diamond Cutter is one of them.
Oh no way, bro. I'd pay. I'd love to see that, bro.
I'll find
That's
it. I
such
watched
classic
that. It's a
TBS.
random,
Oh,
yeah, like a TBS tie-in. And there we can review some of the random TV movies that they put Sting in that no one remembers.
absolutely, bro. Like Shutter Speed. Shutter Speed on TNT, bro.
Yeah, man.
Horrible movie, by the way, but I loved it because it was Steve Borden. So
So
right
yeah,
after
back
the
to the WWE here. We've seen HBK back at WWF New York. He predicts Undertaker to win the Hell in the Cell. So yeah, it's just like build up to the Hell in the Cell. Next match, pretty cool-ish match. It's a 4-way tag for the tag titles, but it's not elimination, which is like a part I kind of don't like. I like tag elimination, 4-way tag elimination matches. I don't know why I like them, but I do. So it's Right to Censor, who were the champions. Yeah, like you were saying before, two big dudes as a team. Like they remind me a bit of like the APA.
yeah,
They're the champs. I hardly remember them even being tag champs.
I do. And when I saw them come out, I said, "Oh shit, yes, I do remember them." And they held them for quite a while because they were the typical heel commies. They were super commie with their
I
office
remember at
rules.
one point after this, the Godfather goes away for a while, and then he comes back as a heel Godfather, only for like a short time, and that is another rarity.
That was probably experiment. Or like, what if we just bring him back as the pimp, but a bad
pimp.
one that's gonna
Yeah.
just backstab his good people. So yeah, for sure. So we
We
had
have Road
Buchanan,
Dogg and
Goodfather.
K-Quick.
Yeah, so Road Dogg, when I came out, I remember Road Dogg faded a bit away after DX, like the new Generation X. So they were huge heels in the early 2000s, man, feuding with The Rock
Yeah.
and Jericho at
Yeah,
some
like when
point.
DX broke up, it really felt like everyone else
Road
took
Dogg
a step back and Triple H took a skyrocket
step
to the
up.
top.
He
Yeah.
skyrocket, bro. He married the boss's daughter, so
Yeah.
for sure. But they were a good DX, man, and I was happy to see Road Dogg. But I think this was near the end, right? Because he was cool. He was always cool. He was always a country guy, and then they turned him into like a rap guy with K-Quick, which Ron Killing's amazing
Right.
talent, dude. He was
About to
always
do some things, K-Quick,
yeah,
about
bro.
to move some things.
Bro, he's pretty
Get
gangster.
rowdy.
Yeah, he was in good shape too. I liked his mic skills. He was cool as
Yeah,
hell.
like at this era, WWE's was so strong that like they weren't bringing in like rookies that often.
No, they were bringing in
R-Truth was like one of the few like new guys we've seen. They'd bring in ECW guys, which we had already seen, or WCW, but R-Truth was like an unknown,
Yeah, he was made there. He was built there. I think he debuted as K-Quick.
Exactly. In this match,
K-Quick.
he's K-Quick. Exactly.
He's K-Quick.
Yeah. And Edge and Christian and the Dudleys. Those are the other two teams, which are the more established teams. Dudley boys in this match get a huge reaction. Like they're super popular in this match.
Yeah.
And yeah, so great back and forth. Edge and Christian end up winning the match, though. This is their fourth tag reign. I think they did it this way, just a hypothesis, because they didn't want Edge and Christian to have to beat Right to Censor directly, but they really wanted the tag titles back on because they're two heel teams,
Right.
you know? So they're able to get the titles onto another heel team directly without having to lose
To
it
trail
to a
them
face
with the
team.
other team. Yeah. They
Yeah.
wanted just for it to jump, and again, possibility. Maybe because they knew RTC was, they're like, okay, we have different plans for these guys maybe now, and let's just give them back to Edge and Christian, and then let it unfold naturally. And that was what was beautiful with WWF at the time, because it was just so fluid, bro.
Yeah, it
Like
really
everything
did
fell in
feel
the
like
right
shit
spot.
flowed well.
You didn't have those holes in between storylines like WCW did, because they actually edited their shows. So
Yeah, exactly. And at this point, like out of these guys, like Road Dogg when he was in New Age Outlaws would have been like New Age Outlaws when like the other tag teams were having those ladder match feuds. New Age Outlaws were already like almost above that, you know, they were like
yeah,
the kings of the tag team division.
yeah, like they're they're the veterans. They don't have to prove themselves, and possibly even shoot them upper and up the echelons.
Exactly.
So
But at this point, it feels like they'd taken a step down, and that like Edge and Christian and Dudley Boys at this time were really like the top tag team.
yeah,
Here by the end of
the Hardy Boys
2000.
as well. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that. When you thought Attitude Era, Prime tag team, Dudley Boys, Edge Christian, Hardy Boys, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Then it jumps to backstage Triple H and Steph. Hilarious. I laughed because Triple H told his own wife that the WWF Championship was the most important thing in the
his
world
life,
to him.
and she's just like, "Oh,
I'm surprised they lasted this long, but he was always serious the game about the title. You could feel that that's what he lived for, bro, was the title. That's how good
and
he was.
He's like the jacked guy. Like out of the
He
six
was
guys in the
in
main
shape,
event,
bro.
he's like by far the most jacked. Like we
Jacked
look
guy.
at The Rock today, and we're like, The Rock is a jacked guy.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a body guy in WWF. He was just a
No.
big dude. He's 6'8", but he wasn't jacked like Triple H or how he is
Triple
today.
H was jacked, bro, like bodybuilder style.
Yeah, exactly.
Like bodybuilder style.
Yeah. So then we get Billy Gunn versus Benoit for the IC title.
The one
Personally,
Billy Gunn.
I was quite disappointed with this match. The one gimmick sucked. It was so generic. Why not keep him the badass Billy Gunn?
Yeah. Mr. Assman even.
And I think he might have got hurt in this match, or was it just the gimmick of the match? Benoit's just like working on his leg the whole match. It feels like it goes on forever. And yeah, these guys, it didn't click in the match. I find like, you don't remember like, remember like Billy Gunn versus Benoit feud? Like, no, this was
no. You'll remember Benoit versus Jericho, Benoit versus Guerrero. That you'll remember. Exactly. Angle as well, which amazing. One of the best technical matches. I think it was WrestleMania. Yeah. It was amazing, bro. Yeah. Holy, was that a good match, man. You could see him against
Benoit
RV.
versus Regal.
Absolutely.
You know, but no, they really didn't mesh well. Like,
and they were
Benoit
good talent.
Being the heel, but yet being so much smaller, it's hard to have sympathy for Billy Gunn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. And so he wins. Benoit captures with the crossface, captures the Intercontinental. Do you think they rushed the ending because Gunn maybe injured himself?
I think he might have legit been hurt. Yeah.
And do you think it was a last minute title
match too?
So that makes sense.
So like where this was positioned on the card, this almost felt like it was like positioned as a semi-main event, because the only match after is the women's match, which they would normally do to kind of like give you like, I'm not saying this to be sexist. This is literally what they would do. They would put a segment between the main event, the semi-main event and the main event for you to go like make popcorn or go to the bathroom so you don't miss the main event. You know, there's always like a cold match between the semi-main event and the main event.
Man, that's interesting.
Segment,
yeah, that's interesting. What's smart to do. I mean, like
they're not gonna do like an actual intermission on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You know? But like like, hey, we're going to a house show 1 week from today, WWE, as we record this 1 week from today. 1 week from this airing, it will be 1 week after. And yeah, in Laval, maybe some of our fans will have seen us there, or we'll have been there too.
Laval.
Yeah, but there's intermissions. Like there's an intermission at a house show. Any
Yeah, just like a hockey game.
exactly like any
Like, you
event
have a
you go
break,
to,
then people have
there's
20
a
minutes
break
to
so you
go.
can go take
Exactly.
a piss
Because,
or
bro, it takes
something.
you 20 minutes to find the bathroom anyways, and
Exactly.
15 minutes to go in the
Wait in
line,
line to
buy
go
something.
fucking buy a hot dog
So
or
it's true.
something.
Pay-per-view, it's filmed. You have no intermissions. If you get up, dude, you better run to the kitchen quickly and make your snack. But it's
Exactly.
true. They used to implement, and not to be sexist, but we can't. Actually, it's not sexist because, bro, it was booming the women's division
No,
at that
yeah, the
time.
women's
So like,
they were stars.
so
Like guys
no
had
disrespect,
their
guys,
posters
for
plastered all over
sure.
their walls.
But that's how they fought. Unfortunately,
In the day.
in wrestling, yeah.
We get an ad for the XFL cheerleaders, which is also a kind of sexist ad where it's just a panning of like all of these hot women getting changed. And at the end, it's like the XFL cheerleaders. Don't worry, we'll teach them how to cheer. So basically, what they're saying is we just hired a bunch of ultra hot women.
That's it. Never would that pass in 2022, by the way.
No.
Like,
Now
if you
today's
realize what
cheerleaders is taken as like a sport,
super, dude. So
Yeah. So another like quick tidbit here. We get they mention how anyone who ordered this pay-per-view and sends in proof of purchase that you didn't pirate it and then you actually paid for it, they would send you a copy of WWF The Music Volume 4. And WWF would do this every month. If you would send in your proof that you bought the pay-per-view, they would send like the first 10,000 people or something or more, probably more, like a free gift. And this was an anti-piracy way of doing shit,
yeah. So
And
that they
was
would
a good
encourage you.
strategy. How
That's
many
it.
people pirate shit on the internet today? WWE should still be doing this today. AEW should still be doing this today.
It's true, but it's hard now. Like back in the day, you would get pirates. Like I remember, I knew someone
The
that
black
could
box.
actually, yeah, the black
The
box.
guy
you
that
could
I
get
would
it.
go watch these pay-per-views at his house, we'd watch it on the black box.
Yeah,
Their
the black
parent was-
box. Not to mention,
Who was
yeah,
paying?
absolutely.
Who could convince their parents to pay $40 a month for these pay-per-views every month?
I did, bro. In 5 years, once. That's it. Twice, I think. That's it. And it was
Sometimes
my money.
parents would like offer me it as a Christmas present. Like you get to pick a pay-per-view in the next couple months. And I think that only happened like once or twice. And I always picked Royal Rumble, which was like the pay-per-view right
That's
after
it.
Christmas for WWE.
But you still got gifts for sure.
Got gifts too. No.
They
This
forgot.
was just
Yeah.
an extra gift.
They're
you
like,
know?
this is just to make you happy, because you used to get insane gifts. I
I
remember.
remember once also my uncle like gave it to me as a gift too. I went to his house to watch a Royal Rumble.
Well, my dad helped a lot because he got into wrestling a lot around this era, and I convinced him.
So
I'd be like, Dad, tell
if
mom.
you had a parent who was into it,
My dad loved it. Yeah,
kicked ass.
my dad
I
loved
remember
it for
my
sure.
dad liked wrestling a lot as a kid, a younger kid. By this era, he was kind of not into it, but he's still more like WCW. My
Right.
dad always was more a WCW NWA fan.
Right.
Yeah. We see an interview with Austin, and he
Who's
says
coffee
he didn't
fueled.
sleep all night, and he's
'Cause
just
he's
drinking
coffee
coffee.
fueled.
He's interviewed by JR. So each wrestler was interviewed by a different member of the staff. This was like a recorded interview, they say, from earlier in the day. And Austin's like saying he's legit scared to be in the match. So it's pretty funny. We have like who's scared and not scared. We have Angle. He's like delusional enough to not be scared. The Rock, not scared. Triple H, not scared. Rikishi, not scared. Taker, not scared. But like Austin, scared.
Yeah, he's coffee fuel. And Taker, we didn't mention this, but he had a haunting little interview at the beginning where he's like each one leaves their soul.
He's in the ring before the event starts in the empty arena with the Hell in the Cell, and he's like, yeah, he gives a
Kevin
great
Kelly
promo.
interviewing him, if I remember. Yeah, it was Kevin Kelly, who you've worked with, by the way. But
on the commentary,
it's awesome.
Kevin
awesome.
Kelly,
Awesome stuff, guys. Check it out. So yeah, it was good. It was a good build up. Here he goes. Austin was scared. I don't know why they did that, but
yeah, it was like weird.
I was rooting for Austin at the time.
Scared.
I think everyone was rooting for Austin at the time because he just came
back. He hadn't won the title since. This was his first shot at the title since coming back from his injury. But it's a 6-way match, so it's not a one-on-one.
Slim for sure.
Yeah. So we get Ivory, Molly Holly, and Trish triple threat for the women's champion. It's a very short match, but you know what? It's like compared to the WCW women's matches we've been watching lately, it was way better.
Yeah, it was
Like,
legit. Like it was legit, bro. You
Molly
know,
and
and
Ivory, they never became as big stars as Lita and Trish,
Trish.
but they were kind of like the heels that like they Trish and Lita couldn't always fight each other. And these two were legit good wrestlers. Like Molly and Ivory were great in-ring wrestlers, you know?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
Ivory ends up
Winning.
retaining her title. Um,
Then you had Test and Albert that came
yeah,
down.
Test and Albert, they end up coming down to the ring. Because I don't know reasons.
I think they came down to get Molly because Molly cost
Oh yeah,
Trish the title. Trish was always with the
oh yeah,
TNA.
because Trish
Always.
was still with TNA at this point.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think Trish is on the verge of turning face eventually here.
Yeah, and then breaking off and doing her own thing, and
Yeah, she
I think
leaves
so. This was
Test
a
and
bit.
Albert.
That's
Yeah.
it. And then Crash came down and you know
Yeah, Crash is
defended
like
his cousin.
standing up for Molly.
His cousin.
Yeah. And
that led to the
then-
return of not Chronic, but APA, the
Yeah.
real actual tag team, who came after their rival. So that was cool, man, that they had like, man, they had so many, they had good feuds, man, going on, like legit feuds like that, like APA versus Test and Albert. Like that was cool, bro. Like
that was a memorable feud. Yeah, for sure. There was a lot
sure.
of tag teams at this moment. Like, look how deep the tag team division was.
And not mixed around shit tag teams, like
No,
good tag
like
teams,
real tag
like
teams.
legend.
And like some of them like look like Crash and Hardcore, like they were doing single stuff on this show too. Like there was even like more other like
Yeah.
stuff going on. And like even on the Heat, like we had Lowdown in like one of the members of Lowdown and one of the members of Too Cool, both in a tag match.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was like 12 tag teams,
definitely.
like almost an AEW level tag teams. So deep. So now I'll say up to this point, the pay-per-view has been good. I really like the continuity, the storylines, the whole feeling of like the show is really well produced. But like there hasn't been that many standout big, like great matches, I would say.
No, it wasn't the best, but it was clearly a hell of a much better than WCW
Yes,
and
yes,
ECW.
yes.
Obviously, it's sad. Both were really going down, but it was really like you could tell the quality of the product, the tie-ins with all the merchandising. WWE was on top,
Like,
bro. They were the
It
kings.
felt like for this pay-per-view, besides the main event, they didn't even have to try hard, and it still killed Starrcade 2000.
That's it. That's it. And
Yeah.
The Rock was in his prime. He cut of a
Let's
hell
get
of a
into the main
promo.
event. The Rock, he kills it. He kills the promo. You know, he's definitely not scared. The Rock always had a promo right before the main event on
For sure.
pay-per-views.
He'd hype it up, man. I think they did it to
Like,
hype the hell out of
I
it.
would get so excited.
Me
like,
too.
And like The Rock, he must have been thinking of these promos for like days because they were like epic promos.
Classics.
So this is the 7th ever Hell in the Cell, 6-way, first pin, first wins. Yeah, like for all like how they tried to push Rikishi and everything, this was like his highlight. This was like his first and only ever main event world title shot on a pay-per-view, you know? Rollin' was so over as a song. Like Undertaker was already over, but like having Rollin' was awesome. Like it was just awesome. It was so funny how like when the guys came out, it would be like The Rock, and then under it would say like therock.com. Like the big stars actually had their own
site. Yeah,
but it sucked.
stonecold.com.
It was just like
there's a few
maybe some
pictures,
wallpapers you could download.
2 links. You could download
and
like a
maybe listen to their
wallpaper.
theme.
Dude, it was like a 20-second theme, bro. It wasn't even
not
a full.
even their full theme.
I remember good stuff, man.
Yeah, it was just so 2000s. Like
don't forget 2000.
Internet.
You maybe had like 10,000 sites in total.
Yeah, really.
Even less, maybe. Really, like
their sites were well made, but like websites like were kind of pointless. Like, yeah, we went on the internet, but more for like info.
We tried to build sites. Remember on freeservers.com. Angel Fire. Free server.
Angel Fire, I'm pretty sure still exists. But yeah, that was my first forays into making sites on Angel Fire for sure, man. in this era. And yeah, so it starts out like a general brawl, like ringside. Guys are like take their turns brawling on the
Yeah,
inside of the
wild,
match. And that
wild
was
brawl.
always
Like,
kind of like a thing for these kind of matches. The guys would have to like pretend to be hurt for like prolonged periods amount of time on the outside.
because dude, these were like 26-minute, 30-minute matches sometimes.
Oh yeah, yeah. This
Like
one goes at
they had
least
to stall a
probably
bit.
almost half an hour for
So
sure.
they're like, take your time, avoid injury. Well, I can't. I don't think you can really avoid injury in a Hell in a Cell, but
To try
they're
to,
like,
yeah.
take your time, you know. And it was good though. They were brawling wildly until Vince McMahon and the Stooges showed
Yeah,
up.
they show up with a truck, which we had seen earlier backstage parked, and he like hires some random like guys to help him like try to take down the cage. So he puts up chains, and like, had they really done this? Like, if I would have been sitting in the crowd, I would have been legit concerned. Like, are they really going to try to do this? This looks
Yeah,
so
yeah,
dangerous.
yeah.
Like,
No, it was always like that. You were always, it was all suspenseful, man. You were always on the edge of your seat, like, oh my god. And yeah, and live, bro, it must have been booming. Like, I
yeah,
regret not ever going to an Attitude
me too. But sadly, they
event,
didn't
bro.
come to Montreal that much in this
Much,
era.
yeah. We mentioned in our like they had their like
After the
their Canadian
Montreal
cities.
screw job, they kind of like killed the town here.
Yeah, because they were scared as well too. You know, they're like, dude, we're not coming
Because they
back to
wouldn't
Bret
get the
Hart territory.
reactions on TV like that they wanted, you know, for the certain guys.
Yeah,
And
yeah. They knew from the
the
pops
fans would just like
and
shit on them and go crazy and go into business for themselves, which the Montreal fans still do when WWE comes live, you know. So
yeah, for sure.
so yeah, then he isn't successful in taking down the cage because Foley comes out. Basically his crew runs away. Like, how could I explain how they run away? They act like civilians in GTA when you pull a gun.
Oh yeah, they're like they just scatter.
They
They're like
scatter, yeah.
they're scattered away. They're like, oh my god, and they scatter fast, bro. They're
Like,
like,
one of the
bump.
guys must have been like the owner of the truck. But the guy's like, "Fuck my truck! I don't want to get beat up by
You're just
fucking
getting in.
mankind."
Exactly. It's like when that guy saw who was it? A Terminator, remember? Like he's like, get out, and then he just runs. Bro.
Yeah,
He's like,
get out.
yeah.
The guy
But
just jumps out of his helicopter. Remember that?
yeah, like that. He's like, get out,
The
and bro,
T1000,
he
yeah.
doesn't. The guy
He's
looked like Danny
get
DeVito.
killed by him, or like maybe
Break
die
your
like
legs.
by falling.
No, I think he broke his legs there, but
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
Got paralyzed, but he didn't
for
die.
sure.
That's an
For sure.
epic scene.
Amazing.
Yeah, T1000, epic bad guy.
10 and 10.
Another epic bad guy here, Kurt Angle, is just hilarious throughout the whole match. I love how the king like loves Kurt Angle. Like, he loves him on commentary. At one point, like, they're all bleeding, and then like JR's like, "Oh, Angle's busted open," and the King's like, "Angle's bleeding. He's never bled." Like, he's like so worried and like so hilarious.
Yeah, because he was the heel commentator. He was the funny heel commentator. Something
so
Mark
he's
Madden
sticking
was
up
trying
for, like,
to do.
a champion Angle.
That's it. That's
who
it.
no one wanted to see as champion.
No. So like he was always a low key heel. That's what the new gen says. Low key
exactly
heel
He was, yeah.
commentator.
Yeah. So everyone brawls. Like, they end up like, because of this whole fiasco with the trying to pull down the cage, the door comes off. They all end up brawling around these like broken down cars on the set. It gets pretty violent. Everyone's busted open. This is where I find the match really like starts delivering, you know. It's really a main event match. Austin and Triple H are the first two to climb up on top of the cell. And I had never really taken this into consideration, but during this match, I really thought the Hell in the Cell really has scaffold match similarities at the same time as a cage match. Like the getting on top part and then like teasing being thrown off. We all know those scaffold matches, like guys would get thrown off, but it always ends up like kind of like wonky, like exactly the same way Hell in the Cell, except for that one time when Mick Foley did. But the same thing with the scaffold. It's like that same thing, like the one time like Jim Cornette really like fucking broke his legs, you know?
Right, for sure, man. Because yeah, I mean, it's Hell in a Cell. You knew someone was kind of getting injured, man.
Like that's what you wanted. Like in the game, when you take a Hell in the Cell match, you'd almost be like, okay, let's not even fight and let's like both get on top and then.
And I'm gonna throw him off, or like power bomb him, or give him a tombstone right in the middle, so it breaks through. So that was the first thing I did, bro.
Exactly. I thought they might have like done different spots in this match, but really they all end up getting on top of the cage at one point, which I was like, fuck, it must have been really like reinforced, you know?
Yeah.
Rikishi climbing up on top of the cage at his weight, just that I was impressed.
That was incredible, bro. Like the match was so chaotic and
really
like
so much
suspenseful,
happening all over the place.
all over the place, bro.
So
Brutally brilliant.
Definitely the spot of the match, the crazy part of the match. Taker choke slams Rikishi off the cage, into the back of the truck, which of course had some kind of padding, but I mean, I don't care. That was still an insane spot.
Bro, he was like 300 something pounds. No, he was like 380
pounds.
Yeah, close to 100 pounds, bro.
Standing
jumping
like, on
off
the
that
edge like that, like so much could have gone wrong.
For sure.
And Rikishi, he really tries to like become a star in this match, you know? This is like him getting what he deserved for the Austin thing. But you know what? I think it would have made a lot more sense
if Austin
did it. But Undertaker is the guy who throws people off the top of the cell. So that works too, kind of.
He's like, sorry, Steve, but I got to do it. And he did it. And so that leaves actually HHH, Angle, Rock, and Austin, and like they're all dead. Yeah, almost, right?
Austin in the ring. H like climb, like, so you have some guys like end up climbing down like at some points here. They end up getting all back into the ring, and then this is like an Attitude Era trope, like we start hitting each other with our finisher, but everyone can kick out like magically.
Yeah.
And then hit each other with each other's finisher, but then out of nowhere, Angle like just rolls over, puts his hand on, I don't remember who he pins, but he pins someone and he ends up winning. He like steals the win. Oh no,
it was on the Rock. It was on the Rock's chest, and he got him. He got the 3 count. Obviously, after that, Austin was pretty pissed, so he gave a nice little stunner.
Gunning for Austin for Angle, still like coming out of the pay-per-view. Overall, it was a great pay-per-view. The main event, it was definitely like backloaded though. Like they overloaded the main event because the other pay-per-views, similarly for this era, you'd have your undercard, and then you'd have like a pretty solid lead up halfway of the show leading up. Then you'd have one like throwaway match, then a main event.
Right.
But you'd say like a normal pay-per-view, you would have had like Angle against Rikishi, say, then you would have had Austin against Taker, and then Rock against Triple H.
But Prez, I think
they really fused it all into the main event.
What they wanted to do, I think, was the last bang of 2000. Because don't forget, Royal Rumble was next, and that was going to give them, like you said before, they always wrote everything so well because this was going to give now birth to new, fresh. You know, don't forget they had SmackDown and Raw after to make other storylines. So this was really not a reset, but the finish big, 6 huge, names, including Rikishi. At that time, I think after that he faded out, but it was really the finish for 2000 with a huge main event. It was probably one of the best main events. Because dude, it was
it was a great main event for sure. It was awesome.
That was truly
so much star power, you know.
Didn't they have that big WTF moment?
Well,
was it like what the fuck moment? No, wasn't that a thing? Yeah, but wasn't that a thing at WWE? No, it wasn't a brander, eh? Like it was one of those moments where it was like, what the fuck? Like it was huge. Because it was 6 people, Rikishi, even if it wasn't no Mick Foley, having a tooth coming out of his nose, was still huge at the end of 2000s to see that.
It won't be like ultimate, classically remembered Hell in the Cell, but it was good. It's worth going back to watch. Like if people haven't seen it ever or hadn't been a while. I think overall though, the pay-per-view over relied on the main event, and the undercard felt like it dragged on too long. There was too much undercard.
Yeah,
I'm
it
gonna
lacked
give the
something.
pay-per-view overall a 6 on 10.
Yeah, same here. I give it a 6
The
solid, and
undercard wasn't that bad, but
no,
it
wasn't wow either.
on. So definitely it was better as a pay-per-view than Starrcade 2000.
So I'll give 6 on 10 to the actual to the actual pay-per-view itself, but I'll give it a nice 8 or 9 on 10 for the writing and the way it
Yeah,
unfolded. Even
the
though it wasn't that,
presentation,
yeah, it wasn't that
the-
appealing. All the mid carders, it was still good. You had good talent, but because dude, when you watch WCW and then you flip to this, this is really the pinnacle of
like
wrestling
the
at that time.
build-up of this pay-per-view was so
So-
much more interesting.
Exactly.
Like compare like just the Steiner Sid feud compared to these 6 guys.
So
going into
sad,
the
bro.
Hell in- Like there's no comparing it.
But I was relieved when we did this review because we've been watching WCW for the last, I don't know,
I
how
know
many
it
months,
felt like
bro.
a nice change.
Like 2 months now. Yeah, it's depressing to see that. And then when you see this such a good show like this, definitely it was good. Not the best, but this sets you up though for 2001, which is one of the best years
Yeah.
ever for
Oh, yeah.
WWE.
And yeah, just even the next pay-per-view after
Royal Rumble.
2001.
I feel like
Classic
reviewing
pay-per-view.
that so badly.
Maybe we will one day for sure. But so next week we'll do the last Nitro that we're gonna do. Again,
March.
we're gonna continue in the Nitros for 2000. And so it's gonna be the Nitro after Starrcade that we're gonna do. And then
Right before
probably
2001.
we'll jump to something else, a different era probably. And yeah, so I think this was a great episode to show some contrast. But next week we'll
Absolutely.
be back into our regular Turner Podcast Network, TBS affiliated topics. So Stinger, leave the fans with some words of advice here.
Words of advice, guys. Just know that the times have changed. We can't ever go back to the millennium, to the year 2000. It'll never be that classic. But hey, we're blessed. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope everything in the news gets resolved. Let's hope this virus disappears. Guys, quit. Just don't trail on it. Enjoy. I think we have a great show also coming up. Me and Prez, we're gonna go watch WWE in Laval. Hopefully, we see Rey Mysterio show up out of nowhere and do some
That's right.
crazy Hurricane
And
Rana.
we're gonna do probably a review of that, like of the house show. We'll do a kind of a bonus episode. Maybe
Yeah,
it'll be,
we have to.
it'll definitely
It
be
must
on the
be done.
YouTube. It's like we're gonna do a bonus video just for the house show.
There you
We're
go.
gonna describe the atmosphere and everything that went on. I personally am most excited. I hope Rey Mysterio's there. I really want to see Sami Zayn. I'm pretty sure he's confirmed. I really hope Kevin Owens is there. But I would say I'm most excited. The star I'm most excited that they've announced is Ronda Rousey. I've never seen her live, and just a name, just as a name, she's one of the biggest stars. You know?
Yeah, for sure. I think that would be the biggest appearance in Laval, bro, is
For a
Ronda
house show,
Rousey.
she doesn't
for a
do a
house
lot
show.
of house shows, so this
Yeah.
would be really cool.
So exactly, totally agree.
Yeah, so for the Stinger, I'm the Prez. This has been TPS. Thanks for watching and see you next week, fans.